Okay. Here we go.
I'll retweet. Maybe. If internet works.
Oh, okay. So if you're joining us in the chat, make sure to just leave us a comment along the way. If you have any questions, make sure you send those to us. We'll answer some of them, if not all of them. And we appreciate you tuning in. And we'll get started here right now.
I'm Deontay Burton, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Hamidou Diallo.
Hey, I'm Danilo Gallinari.
I'm Chris Paul, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
What's Dort?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know what that was. In English, bro. I'm Darius Bazley, and I'm down to dunk.
I'm Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
I'm Steven Adams.
I'm Andre Robertson, and I'm down to dunk. On you.
So I gotta say, I'm just fired up to be here today.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schleck. I'm fired up to be here today. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me today is my good friend, Michele Berra. Michele, what is up?
Well, you are my MPP. I know what that means. Most podcast producer. I
So the NBA season finished last night. The Lakers are the NBA champs, which is pretty cool.
Pretty damn cool.
Pretty damn cool, I'd say. Yeah, it was not the greatest game.
No.
It looked like Miami had given all that they had in Game 5, and the Lakers definitely just took advantage of that. And for some reason, the Lakers still had a ton of gas left in the tank and just pummeled them. So not a great game, but it was a great playoffs. And honestly, I don't know if you could have expected more out of the bubble. And the way the NBA handled everything, they did have 0 positive tests for players and coaches and all that, but they did have positive cases for people within the bubble, which was a huge concern going into it. And the way they handled that, one, with it getting very little attention that people were coming into the bubble with COVID is great. And 2, that they kept it away from the players, which is everybody going into it was like, this is inevitable. Somebody's going to get it. They're going to spread it. It's going to be all over. But the NBA proved that it's something that does work. I think that the NFL should be at least considering some of the protocols that the NBA put in place to try to help with what they have going on there. I don't know how in the world you do that with college football. You probably just couldn't. But it's a huge success for the league to be able to finish with really not any huge speed bumps due to COVID. Obviously, there were some social justice things that put things in question along the way, which I thought were good ultimately. So to me, it's just a wild success for the NBA to finish in the way that they did.
Yeah, I mean, you can't qualify that any better. It was an extremely great experiment that the league has done. I mean, it's not just from a sport point of view. They proved that if they need to do something in a certain environment with a huge number of people without risking anything in terms of spreading of the disease, it can be done. It's not cheap. It requires a ton of attention. It requires an incredible amount of details. I remember when we discussed the protocols, and I don't remember how many pages were written about these protocols, but they ended up
100 plus pages.
Yeah, something crazy, but it's not crazy. It's an unprecedented disease that behaves in a very non-standard way, where people do not transmit the virus in the same way. There are persons that are super spreader, persons that do not spread the virus. So if you get a super spreader, it's done. Your season is over, no matter what you do, because you are in a closed environment when you are in a gym. So that was extremely hard, and I don't care the least about the TV ratings and stuff. The NBA did something incredible. They were successful, and I think that they saved their future, because it's not just this season. Can you imagine going 8 months without basketball, like a year without basketball. Like it's crazy.
It would have been wild. Teams like Charlotte are gonna probably go about a year without basketball. It's weird for them to make the bubble, but for the
not their fans. Like their fans had something to cheer for. Maybe not their team, but still an incredibly good product. It was not like incredible in terms of the environment. The people in the arena were missed because it's not the same if you don't have the people, the loud cheer. But still, the NBA product, like on court, was insanely good. Even in the last game, like where like Miami didn't have anything, the Lakers were awesome defensively. Like if you loved basketball, I mean, you had a lot to watch.
Davis was unreal on the defensive.
Yeah.
I mean, they just couldn't do anything within like 7-8 feet of the basket. You're not going to get anything. And Davis made sure. And I questioned going into the game. I was very intrigued to see what Anthony Davis would look like because he did not look good at the end of Game 5, but he was ready and he was dominant. And as was LeBron James, who was he's just unbelievable this whole playoffs. If you were to just set somebody in front of the TV and be like, how old do you think that guy is? Like, I don't know, 20, 24, 25.
But like if you go crazy, you say 29. Something like that.
I mean, he is not slowing down. I mean, Jimmy Butler is younger than LeBron. He gave every ounce of everything he had, and you could just tell that he didn't have enough time to recharge for Game 6. And LeBron's like, I didn't break a sweat in the first 5 games. So this is cool. This is cool for me. Just a wild experience getting to watch LeBron dominate like that once again. So 5 championships. Is he the GOAT? We're not going to talk about that on this podcast. So don't worry. Don't worry.
Well, can I say something? I don't want to judge. I don't care. When I was young, I remember like my dad and like the family, who's the greatest soccer player of all time? Is Pelé because he scored more? No, it was Maradona because it was so. Okay. Can we stop this and say that in the modern era of basketball, like LeBron was the best player for almost 20 years? This is insane. Period. I don't care about comparing because then you have to compare it with Bill Russell, with Chamberlain, with Jordan, with whoever. Like in the last 20 years, LeBron played 17 seasons and it was the best player in probably 15 of them. Like this is insane. Period. Let's stop there. I don't care about like comparing with other sports. Like basketball 30 years ago was a different sport than today. Not as different as soccer and basketball, but it was different. Different rules, different tendencies, different uses of clock, space. It's different. I don't know, probably if Jordan plays today, he probably scores 30 and he's the best player in the league. Yes, but like it's totally different. And I don't want to diminish neither player. Like Jordan was awesome for his time. LeBron is sensational today. Like, can we just say that and move on and just appreciate that after Jordan, we get another player that can be at least in the discussion for the best player of all time. Yeah. This is incredible. And maybe we will have Luka for the next 15 years or some other player, Cade Cunningham. Who knows? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Dort.
Who
knows? Who's to say? Honestly, who's to say that Dort is not the next LeBron? You don't know that. You don't know that for sure.
Yeah, LeBron was not a good 3-point shooter when he was young. So
it's true. That's the comp. They're both built like trucks.
Yeah.
Who knows?
He's not Canadian though. I don't know if that.
Who?
LeBron. I mean.
Yeah, Dort's not really Canadian either, though. He's Haitian.
I don't know. So. Well, anyway, let's.
I think you could say. I think it's a fair thing to say that LeBron will have the best career of anybody in the history of the NBA. As far as longevity and accomplishments and the amount of times he's been to the finals and I think that you could say that. just because Jordan's career was obviously incredible, but strange in a lot of ways.
Yeah, on and off. And yeah, I mean, it's again, it's different. I mean, to do what LeBron did in today's NBA, it's something insane. To come back like fourth, winning it with 3 different teams it's like super hard.
Yeah, it's insane. You know, Tim Duncan could trust the Spurs organization to make the right decisions all along the way. It's a great organization. You hop organizations like LeBron did, because he won one, like Miami, great organization, clearly. They're back in the finals today. You go to Cleveland, not so good. I think the real accomplishment is winning in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, with the type of owner that they had in Dan Gilbert and the way that they ran their organization, it's kind of a miracle that he won one there. Now at the Lakers, not as difficult whenever you have Anthony Davis telling everybody, yeah, you can trade for me, but I'm going to the Lakers anyways. So good luck.
Yeah, but let's stop there, because I think that there is something that we should discuss about LeBron James. He was not good last year. I probably took a year off for different reasons. Yeah. And this year, like, you have a new running mate. It's not super easy to build a culture in 1 year.
Sure.
Just phone the Clippers and ask Kawhi and Paul George how hard it is to really believe and to make other believe in you. For LeBron James is very, very easy because he's the best player. But he makes it look easy, but it's not. And the way in which the Lakers played the entire, in the bubble, the entire playoff experience for them was a team that believed in LeBron and followed his lead and played extremely hard. Like guys like Caruso, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Rajon Rondo, like these guys played sensationally well for the level they were in the regular season. They just took it to another level. And this is what LeBron asks you, because it's the thing that he does regularly.
Well, and credit to Vogel too.
Oh yeah. It's not easy to coach LeBron and to actually do something, because against the zone, you cannot play bully ball every single time.
Right.
It was clear for me the effort to put the role player in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, and to just like push all the right buttons. I mean, JaVale McGee, sorry, dude, you're sitting out. And then game 6, Dwight Howard, sorry, man, sit down. And he just pushed all the right buttons with each player and established a defense and did a great job for a guy that everybody thought was going to get fired. He did a very, very good job for that team, and was willing to take risks. And you know, it's easier to take risks when you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the court with you. Your margin for error is huge, but still, he did a really, really good job. And he had the respect of LeBron, which I think very much matters. Which I don't. Many people would have predicted that. I think a lot of people would have said, "Yeah, it's probably not going to be their coach. I think Jason Kidd is going to be their coach eventually," and that didn't happen. So huge credit to Vogel on that front. There's no Thunder news, right? there's nothing going on in Thunderland currently, and a lot of that is due to the fact that we don't have the cap and tax numbers yet. So I think obviously we've talked about it. There's guidance that will be given to teams before the NBA draft. I think they will likely have a coach before the NBA draft, and then we will probably start to at least hear rumors of things. Now, we heard rumors of like the Knicks and whatnot over the past week, but the Knicks are still the Knicks, and there's still going to be leaks and stories and made up stuff, and whatever. That's just the way that the Knicks and the New York media operate. It's just a constant stream of information that may or may not be true.
Yeah.
You don't get the same thing in Oklahoma City. So I thought it might be fun to do a way too soon Western Conference rankings for next season. And, you know, things aren't going to change as much as they did last year, where you had like Westbrook and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis and everybody changing spots. I think that for the most part, these teams are what they are. I think you're going to have it's an arms race for almost everybody in the West.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna share my screen and bring up the teams just because it's easier to have up in front of you. But it's going to be an arms race between so many teams in the West, because I think you can take a look at it and see that the Lakers, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Jazz, the Mavericks, the Trailblazers, the Suns, the Grizzlies, the Spurs, the Kings, the Pelicans, the Timberwolves, and Warriors all would like to make the playoffs next year, right? Am I wrong?
I don't think so. There might be teams like the Kings and probably the Kings that if they don't do it, it's not the end of. They should be okay with not making the playoffs. Same with probably the Grizzlies, because it still makes sense for them to be not super bad but quite bad, and to take another bite at the apple. I mean, they have two very good players, but it's not clear cut to me that either of those are franchise players. I mean, you have Ja Morant, which is a very, very good player. So is Jaren Jackson Jr. So is Brandon Clark. But I don't think that it would be bad for them to have another year where you try to play hard, and if you miss it, who cares?
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. If you're the Grizzlies, I would be super jacked to take a step back and add one more guy. If you could add like the 8th pick to that team,
Yeah.
great. Especially in this next draft, which is supposed to be very good. And you never really know until you really get to the draft, and you really don't know until a couple years afterwards.
Yeah.
But this next draft is seen as a very good one. And so it's great. It's a great time, Thunder, to trade Chris Paul and to find some trades for other guys, because if you are the one that takes a step back, it's great. It's great for you. So let's take a look at I'm changing the screen when I'm doing this. Let's take a look at these teams and rank them going into next season, based on where you think their record will be at the end of next season. So
shall we start at the bottom or at the top?
Let's start at the top. I feel like the top is easier than the bottom, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to squeeze in? I have no idea. I mean, it's easier to just say the Lakers are at the top again, right?
Yeah, they have a lot of contracts that they have to kind of understand what they want to do. They have a bunch of player options. They might be different. I don't know how much, but I do think that they will try to improve. Probably they will feel okay trying to move Danny Green to somewhere to get one or two players.
Yeah.
And especially because Rondo played a very good season overall, especially in the playoffs. But I don't know if I trust him for another season, entire season, with the ball in his hands. I do think that if they can find a way to get Dennis Schroeder or a player like that, it would make extremely good. Like, it would make sense for both sides. I don't know if OKC wants to get Danny Green. I don't think so, but he will be coveted from I don't know, Houston, teams like that. So I don't think it will be extremely hard to move it to another team. And maybe you get Ferguson and Schroeder for Danny Green, and then you ship Danny Green somewhere, maybe back to Toronto. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a host of teams that would like to give up their first round pick, especially if they're a good team.
Mm-hmm.
That would give up their first round pick for next year in order to either make the playoffs. Like, I mean, Dallas. I mean, honestly, he'd be good anywhere. Dallas, Utah, Houston. I mean, there's Phoenix would probably like to get him. OKC Dunder Miffle one says Danny Green and the 2022 first round pick for Schroeder.
Yeah, something along the lines. I don't have the Lakers pick situation in front of me. Probably they can give you this year pick, I think. Maybe after the draft. That is something that you can do. Like, you wait for the draft, then you because they cannot trade it before. And I don't think Schroeder is the value of Schroeder is not that high. If you have like the 29th pick or the 30th pick, then it's probably okay. But you have to do it after the draft. And you do again Schroeder and Ferguson for Danny Green and whoever they pick at 20.
Ooh, ship Ferg out of here, man. Get him out of here.
Yeah, I do think that a season in a tough environment, like tough in terms of being consistent and demanding, as the Lakers are, I think it could make either it's a make or break situation for him, and you have to just shoot it with LeBron James. So I think it's an okay trade to make. The money works 100%. So
think we could get back Talen Horton Tucker too.
Do you really want Talen Horton Tucker?
I do. He's
okay.
He's my kind of guy.
Okay.
6'4", thick as can be. My kind of guy.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that one way or the other, the Lakers will probably end up being the best team in the West, or at least in the top tier of real title contender again, because I don't see, unless something happens to LeBron James and or Anthony Davis, they will be at the top of the league. Maybe not in the regular season, because I think that they can pace themselves a little bit more than what they did this season, but they will win around 55 and probably be the top 3 seed in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I still, the top tier teams, I would say, in next year's NBA in the Western Conference: Lakers, Clippers, Nuggets.
Yes, I do think that the Warriors have a shot.
Oh, yep, they do. They have a shot.
I still see the Nuggets as like a very, 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 very good team, but I don't.
Wow.
No.
Taylor in the house.
Wait.
Wow.
Wait.
No, you've already said too
Let
much.
me finish.
That's too much.
It's something like until you do it, you're not there.
Yeah.
And I do think that the top 3 team in the league in terms of really have a chance at the title are the 2 LA teams and the Golden State Warriors, with the Golden State Warriors being probably number 2 in my list, because I do think they will do something to get off Wiggins' contract and get a better player. And they have all the assets in the world to do it. So I do think that the starting 5 of the Warriors will be Clay, Steph, Draymond, and probably at least 2 other very, very good players. And, well, put Gallo and another player like Danny Green for Golden State. Do you put them like below the Clippers? I don't think so.
Probably not.
Yeah. So for me, it's those 3 teams, then the Nuggets, and then other teams. I just don't see the Nuggets beating the Lakers and or the Clippers. Well, they did beat the Clippers, but maybe next year Clippers. Yeah. Then let's put the Lakers above everyone. I mean, I don't see that it was a pretty stark difference between the Nuggets and the Lakers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's true. I think that they fit up there. I'd even be more willing to put the Warriors closer to the Lakers.
Yeah. Then let's say Lakers and Warriors tier 1, and Clippers and Nuggets tier 1B, something like that.
Yeah. Clippers certainly deserve the disrespect. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, they have to prove it now. I do think that they will be very active on the market. They have really nothing to trade for. I still think that the Marcus Morris trade, it's even worse than the Paul George one, because they gave up a lot for a player that didn't do anything good for them in the playoff. And they gave up like 2 first-round picks, something like that.
Yeah, they had to make it happen.
Yeah. Just...
It's great. It's really good. It's honestly really good. And the report about Mike Brown being possibly a candidate for them, it just...
So I gotta say, I'm just fired up to be here today. Pretty cool.
I'm just so excited. I just cannot... If they actually have a press conference with Mike Brown as their head coach, I could not be more thrilled. That's just... It's signaling the end. That's all, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if this is a real rumor.
It was Mark Stein, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it's a real. It's real. It comes from a very very good reporter, but it seems incredible to me that you have a championship caliber team and you go there. I mean, I would be more willing to to pay a gazillion money to Mike D'Antoni and try to make that offense work.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
maybe it's not the best solution, but I would try that before Mike Brown. I don't know if there is any other option that it's like an accomplished coach, because you don't go Kenny Atkinson. You have two players like LeBron and Kawhi, Paul George and Kawhi. I'm not sure that Kenny is the right person if you have like a year where you have to make progress. Maybe you don't have to win the title, but you have to at least give the Lakers fits.
Yeah, you kind of have to win the title.
I'm not entirely sure if it goes to 7 and you have like I don't know, a 50-point game for Anthony Davis to end your run. Like Paul George will probably resign,
Oh, I mean,
and so will Kawhi.
yeah, Kawhi. I'm a little bit. That's the one I don't know, because his expectations are sky high. He's
Yeah.
won titles in 2 other places, and if the Clippers prove that they can't put a title team on the floor, that's where he can be like, all right, I'm going back to the East. That was easy. Let's go back there.
So it's Reggie Jackson and Paul George running the show.
But I gotta say,
Yes.
here,
Yes.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yeah, cool. That was really
MVP voting also for Reggie Jackson, probably.
right. Oh man,
Third in the MVP voting.
he's third in the MVP voting. Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So next tier. So we have Lakers and Warriors in tier 1. Really, Lakers in tier 1, Warriors in tier 2, Clippers, Nuggets in tier 3. Do we want to include the Houston Rockets or the Utah Jazz or the Dallas Mavericks in this tier with the Clippers and Nuggets?
If you want to project a bit, yes.
Yeah.
And it's the Mavs.
Yeah, I like that. This is 5 teams already, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on Utah? Are they you think that Utah could fall back?
I don't see them really changing their outlook for next year. I see them as a very solid team, a team that probably will win 50, 52. They will be either the 5th or the 4th seed or even the 6th seed if everything goes well for the other teams.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how they improve dramatically what they have. They will play great basketball in the playoffs, and they could probably give Denver fits, Houston fits, probably also the Clippers. But how do you go about, like, when you have to play the Lakers? What's your next level? Because if you play at your best level, you can probably beat Denver. You can probably beat Houston. If you find them in bubble mode, you can probably beat the Clippers because Donovan Mitchell is that good, and Rudy probably can be a factor in that game because they don't have too many pull-up threat. And then,
just remember, like, if Mike Conley makes that 3,
oh yeah,
what happens? Do the Jazz have a chance to beat the Clippers? And
it's a good series, I think. And yes, they have Bogdanovic, which improves their percentage for sure.
Yeah,
but I don't see them being that much better. I mean, Donovan Mitchell was extremely proficient in terms of scoring. He took a huge amount of shots, and he took a huge load on his shoulders in terms of on offense. So when Bogdanovic is back, it probably means that Mitchell goes for, I don't know, 20 shots instead of 28.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does that mean that, okay, so if I'm reading you correctly, Lakers, Warriors, Clippers, Nuggets, Mavs, Rockets, Jazz in this next tier?
Yeah.
So if my math is correct, and I believe it is, we've got one more team left to fit in this equation. And before we just write it off, are we positive the Thunder are not going to be in this conversation?
No, it's not 100%, but I wouldn't bet my. I mean, I remember when we discussed that at the beginning of the season, and we were under the impression that sooner or later a trade would materialize for Chris Paul and Danilo Gallinari. It was very close for Danilo. But, I mean, the West will be better. OKC cannot replicate a season like that. It was a very successful season for OKC. I can see Shea getting better, Paisley getting better. I don't see Chris Paul having a better season compared to 2019, 2020. It's hard for him in a team like OKC, in a framework like OKC, to be better than last year. And so if you just consider this, then probably you are discussing a team that will perform at the same level at best compared to last season. And they got lucky. I mean, if you turn it the way you want, clutchness is something that can describe very well what has been done, but not what will be. Mm-hmm. So their results in the clutch were very, very good, and it's very unlikely that they will be able to replicate that. And so you slide like 4 wins back, you're talking about like a 42, 43 win team that can probably be number 10 in the league, in the Western Conference, not really in the playoff race. And if we're discussing tiers, I mean, it's not that Portland is that far away, and they have ways to improve. I mean, it's not that their future is mortgaged to, I don't know, to some other team. They can concoct a trade to get anyone. They can make a package for Beal. They can make a push for, I don't know, they can make a push for Chris Paul if they want. They can put CJ McCollum and, I don't know, whatever other big contract they have, and a couple of first-round picks, and boom, you have Damian Lillard and Chris Paul if this is what they want to do. So if they can change something without mortgaging their future and getting Dame real help, then they are at the same level as the Rockets probably, or close to that.
Mm-hmm.
For the other teams, it will be extremely hard. Extremely hard.
Yeah. It'll be, yeah. I mean, if you put Portland there as like the last team, because Portland's, to me, I think Dame is probably the second best player in that like 3-team chunk there. I think Harden's probably better. But then it's Dame, right? He's better than anybody on the Jazz. He's better than everybody else on the Rockets except for James Harden. So
yeah, but he can have a better season than James Harden. I would not be extremely surprised. He can have a season like that. He almost had it like last season.
He was awesome. Yeah. He probably did have a better season than James did, despite the record of the Blazers. I mean, you look at numbers, and James was so bad for that stretch, right? You know, around the All-Star break was so bad. So I think that you could, I think that's pretty easy to say that
he can. And then you have the 2 teams that will probably take advantage from anyone who slips ahead of them. And I can see the Phoenix Suns and the Pelicans being in a tier of their own, as we will fight for the 8th seed until we die.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is tier 5 or tier 4, but these 2 teams, I can see them winning in the 40s. And if OKC doesn't trade Chris Paul, I will put them in the same tier.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all.
And then
we have the bottom, because it's probably Blazers, Suns, Pelicans are probably all in like a race for 8th seed, and then you have like this sad bunch of teams. The Suns are kind of one of the sad teams because I think they believe they can get there after winning all their bubble games.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of a farce. But like Minnesota might be the saddest of all these, right? And
yeah.
so long to get there. And the last time I got there was with Jimmy, and they ended up having to trade Jimmy because he did not like their young guys like he likes Bam Adebayo.
Yeah.
But man, if you're the Timberwolves, what do you do? What do you do? Like, how do you get better? How do you become a playoff team for the Timberwolves in the Western Conference? How do you do it?
Well, you can take two different routes, and one is extreme patience because you already screwed up once. It was not easy with a very, very good number one pick and with like a good coach and another star, and you still screw up. So now you can either like talk to your guys, talk to Russell, talk to Carl Towns, and say, well, this will be a year of disaster. We'll win 22. We will be miserable. We will try to build for the future because we really need another pick. And this, I don't think it will be the road because I don't see them being okay with this plan. But this is the plan that I would try to advocate for. And 2021, we don't possess our future, so we have to be better. And we will be better, but we have to be bad another year. I don't think this will happen. Or you can try to make a couple of trades that can make you better now, but you have to be really, really careful. You have to pick the guys that you are sure will be very, very good for you. You can try to sign a bunch of free agents like Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant can be okay for them as a 4/backup 5. You have to get a wing that can play defense and be okay on offense. I don't know who that is, but you have to try to get him without paying like a lot of money. And
so screwed. Just that sentence alone puts them in the category of just being so screwed, right?
And then you might have to get guys like Dennis Schroeder or Danilo Gallinari or guys like that. I mean, we are on the podcast, so you have to try to see if there is anything that they could do with the Thunder. I do think that trying to get Schroeder for them, it can be okay. He proved that he can play alongside another guard, especially a guard that can be a spot of threat like D'Angelo Russell. And you need ball handlers. I mean, so Schroeder works, and probably also Gallinari. I don't know how much you defend with Gallo on the court together with Towns and Russell, but at least your offense will be extremely good.
Yeah, what do you do? Because, I mean, you have the clear money swap with James Johnson, who is definitely picking up that player option for $15.8 million.
Yeah.
That gets you the money, but then, like, what sweetener are the Timberwolves going to be willing to throw in? Like, how much more draft capital can they throw in?
Maybe you trade Jared Culver.
Yeah. Do you want Jared Culver?
Why not?
Yeah, I don't know. Why? I guess would be my rebuttal.
Have you given up on him already?
No. I haven't. He was a little older, and he was just pretty super terrible last year.
Yeah. Yes. But I mean, you still may want to try that out yourself. I don't know who we're going to balance out his money. Yes, Ferguson always work. But the money are tough if you include Culver.
Is that good enough, though, for the Timberwolves to give up on your lottery pick from last year to get back Schroeder and Terrence Ferguson?
Nah. No.
I mean, I'd be super. It makes them better, but I would be super miffed if that's what happened.
Yeah, no, they have to do better than that. I mean, probably OKC is not a good pairing for them. I would try again to sign, like to make a real offer to guys like Jeremy Grant. I don't know if he's interested. Another guy that may work for them is Victor Oladipo. Like James Johnson and Jared Culver is 21 million, and probably it fits Oladipo's salary to perfection. It's probably not enough. You probably want to give at least another conditional first rounder of some sort. And
I mean, that's more palatable for both teams, I feel like.
Yeah.
Here, Culver back to the Pacers. Here's a guy, just try to make him good, see if you can do it. And the Timberwolves have that's a path for the Timberwolves to actually be a playoff contender now, to me. I like that because you pair him with D'Angelo Russell and Karl Towns, and your offense is going to be good, and maybe he can help you enough with your defense. But you still need you need a good defensive 4 next to Towns.
Yeah, but probably they have the space to sign someone. I don't know, but maybe not because they are at the cap or very close.
Yeah,
it's tough for them. It's tough.
Yeah.
I don't want to trade Oladipo to like any team but Boston. I think that trading Turner and Depot to Boston in exchange for Gordon Hayward and as many first rounders / young guys Indiana wants is the trade.
Yeah.
But
Boston.
Because Boston will have Kemba, Depot, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, and Miles Turner.
Mm-hmm.
With Smart coming off the bench. Back to the T-Wolves. I don't know. They can maybe try to pay a lot to the Pelicans for Jrue Holiday. That will improve their stock quite a bit. But I don't know if the Pelicans wants to go that route.
Does that move the needle that much?
Yeah, I do think that he's a great player. And
great. You think he's great?
I think he is top 15 of his role.
Top 15 point guard. Sure.
Point guard / guard. I mean, he's good in terms of defense, in terms of shooting. He can be effective without having to carry the ball. And I do think that it can improve dramatically the Wolves. Better than Oladipo, I think. Because he has size, he can be a more versatile defender. He has probably a better contract in terms of that you have a slightly longer deal and you don't have to pay him right away.
I like Jrue Holiday. I'm not trying to say that he's not good.
Well, it's not great in terms of like he's an all-NBA guy, no.
Yeah.
But can they get an all-NBA guy not named Russell Westbrook that then probably can be had for some kind of offer?
Yeah, you don't even want to do that. Like Russell's not going to take you where you want to go either. You never want to be the Timberwolves. They gave up a lot to get Jimmy Butler. They gave up Jimmy Butler and then got back even less. And and then they trade away. They just found themselves in a mess. That's why people want to talk about like the process and how like the Sixers, if Sam Hinkie got to carry it out, I think it would have been great. But that's why you never want to go too soon. You never want to be like, all right, it's time to push all our chips in and get Jimmy Butler. And then he's like, yeah, I don't want to be here. Oh, crap. Same thing could happen for the Thunder. You have to be sure. You have to be sure that one, that you're trading for the right guy. And then two, you have to be sure that your young guys are ready to seize it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not that you trade for a guy that he's, 2-3 years old and your best player in like Porzingis, like what the Mavs did with Porzingis. It was a risk, but it's not the same. I mean, they got a player that didn't want to be in New York and they paired him with one of the best young talent in the league. And there was no real pressure on him. It's different. Like Jimmy was very in a different zone in his career. It was a different moment of his career, and it's hard. Again, I don't know who can fix the T-Wolves. Kyle Lowry, maybe a guy like that. But can you even get him?
Oh no! Number one, no.
Because you don't want Kyle Lowry to be sad, right?
That would be so sad. Send him away from the T-Dot? No way, man. Not happening.
They need a guy like that. A guy that can put a soul in that team and play gritty defense. That's why I think Holiday can be a good choice for them, because he can actually be a good defender. And like try to make them better on that end because they have to be. And I mean, they cannot trade for Bradley Beal. As soon as Bradley hits the market, there will be at least like 2 or 3 other teams that have better offers, or maybe even more than that.
Trade for a guy to give them a soul, and Jimmy rejected their soul.
Yeah, that's why you need like a slightly lesser, like you need to have an easier personality. Jimmy can give you a soul, but it will rip your soul if you don't like if you're not compliant with his style. Let's put it this way.
Yeah, no, he did that.
Yeah,
he totally did that. What about Chris Paul?
They cannot get him in terms of salary. It's too hard. And like, really, this is where you send Chris Paul?
Dude, I don't care. As long as we get something good, send him away, man.
Yeah, what good? Like, it's picks probably, right? They don't have enough salary to make it work.
No, they needed to do it. Yeah, the Evan Turner deal is gone. Yeah, it's too hard.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
No, can't do it.
Well,
no, it's probably they can make moves on the side though. Like, just not mortgage your future today. Try to put like pieces that work. I don't know, like try to make offers if they have the money. If they let everyone expire and somehow trade James Johnson into someone else's space without getting back salary, they probably have enough space to make offers. Again, guys like Jeremy Grant, like solid players that can help you from day one. They have Malik Beasley. I don't know who they will probably have to pay him, but if they get him for, I don't know, 6-7 millions, something like that, 8, it's still an okay deal. They will probably have to overpay him a little bit in order to keep him there. And try to build that way. It will not be pretty, but if you don't mortgage too much, then you probably have another shot at it. Not too many, because like Towns is already there and Russell is there, so they have to be smart. And Gerson Rosa seems to be a very smart GM, so maybe he has a plan. I don't know.
Yeah, he's smart, kind of. That Wiggins deal just looks worse and worse, though. Like, Russell has got to be great this next year to make that deal look palatable. Because you give up that pick, which, I mean, would you?
It could be Cade Cunningham.
It could be. What if they gave up Cade Cunningham?
That's why trade from our dear friend SportFan405 makes sense if you tweak it a little bit.
Tweak away.
I mean, the trade is Rudy Gobert. Let's assume that he's on the market, because otherwise it doesn't make any sense. He goes to the Warriors plus, and he goes to the Warriors, period. Then Utah gets from OKC Steven Adams and Dennis Schroeder plus 2020 pick from the Warriors. This is still kind of okay. I don't think that the salary worked like in a perfect way, but they can make it work. I'm not terribly concerned. And then OKC gets Minnesota's pick. This will not happen under any circumstances. But if you, instead of trading the full pick, you swap 2021 pick in the Thunder favors. So OKC gets the best between their own pick and Minnesota's pick.
Yeah.
Then I think you may have a deal, because like the Jets get a very good pick, the number 2 pick in this draft. And they get 2 very solid players in Dennis Schroeder and Steven Adams that can probably, maybe Adams is, I don't know, 80% of what Gobert is, or whatever percentage you want to put there. I don't think Gobert was extremely effective on defense this season. And they get a real option off the bench that might start in some circumstance. And they get a pick. So they get really good deal for Rudy Gobert. The Warriors get a very, 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 very good defensive. Oh my! Like, can you imagine scoring against Draymond Green and Rudy Gobert? They will probably have 0 space.
That would be
But
super sick. You don't have zero space though when you have the 2 best shooters in the world on your team.
yeah, less space than usual for them. Like
He's okay.
Draymond Green will have to shoot a lot.
Yeah.
And
He'll have to be good.
yeah. And then what is in for OKC? First, you can have 3 of the 5th player that will probably start for the Olympics for Canada national team. Awesome. Second, you get an extra bite at the number 1 pick in 2021, which is exactly what you need. Because if Minnesota is bad, then you increase, and OKC is bad with this trade, they will probably be very bad. You increase your chances a lot. Because if you have, say, the 2 worst record in the league, or 2 of the worst 5 record in the league, I cannot make the math on my head right now, but you have a really, really high chance to get number 1.
Yeah.
And again, the Warriors might think the same and say, well, maybe we don't get number 1, but we will get number 2, 3, 4, or 5. And I get Gobert plus my number 5 pick instead of Wiggins and number 1 pick. It's a choice.
Solid deal. It's a solid deal. The Jazz would have to be amenable to it. And Rudy would have to basically say, like, I'm ready to go. Like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
And then it's a good deal for the Jazz. I like it. I think it makes sense, especially if you do the pick swap thing. If you don't do the pick swap thing and the Warriors just give it up, yeah, that's great for OKC. But for the Warriors, there's 0 ways that I give up both the number 2 pick in this draft and that potential like lottery pick for the next year. There's just no way. There's just no way. But a pick swap, yes. I think it makes more sense. So thanks for listening to today's podcast. You can follow Michele on Twitter at Mikey Berra. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew K. Schlecht. We appreciate you guys tuning in on Periscope and asking questions. Happy birthday, Dion, to everybody. Huge shout out to Dion Waiters for being an NBA champion. This is just your day, Dion. Don't listen to the haters. Just do your thing, Dion. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday.
Thank you.